Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hello there and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com. And today I have a special guest. His name is Bryce Vance. Hey, Bryce.
What's going on, Cesar? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. How's it going? How's everything with you?
It's good, man. It's been 2020's been a weird game of Jumanji, and it keeps getting weirder as time goes on.
You know what, man? Tell me about it. I hear you, though. But you know what, though? Is what you make of it, right? So at the end of the day, that's what we got to look at.
Oh, 100%. It's funny that when you invited me on the show, You Can Overcome Anything, I've known about it for a while. We've got a lot of the same friends, and I've watched a few of your episodes, so I'm honored to be here. But it's like perfect timing because in the last 2 weeks, on top of normal 2020, we've had our dishwasher break, our washer and dryer break, a hot water pipe break, our crawl space flood. We've had to have a dehumidifier in. We've got one room quarantined. We've had to rebuild a computer. We've had to change servers, do 2 years of taxes, and set up new processing accounts, like all in 14 days.
Wow. Gosh, that seems to be a lot, man. A lot going on. So, damn, I hear you. Well, let me get started by getting the listeners and viewers a little bit about you, and then we're going to dive into that and more stuff about you. So, Bryce is the CEO and founder of the Funnel Driven LLC, Chimera Development, the Inbound Secret and Social Media, Chimera Marketing, as well as several SAS programs and up-and-coming peer-to-peer company. He is the creator of several dozen courses and the creative backing for hundreds of clients worldwide. Most recently, he is the up-and-coming author of this first book, title pending, which I think you've already published the book, or is that a different book?
So we've published one, and I've got another book coming out that we do have the title for. It's now called How Prolific Mistakes Make Prolific Profits.
Boom, there you have it. That's awesome. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. And then he has designed not only to change the minds of thousands of individuals worldwide, but to change the world and help people get away from the mundanity they are used to and start living life with purpose. To thrive, not just to survive, and to adopt the mantra, consistency conquers complacency. That's awesome, man. I love that. I definitely love that. So let's talk about, where are you from and what is your upbringing like?
So I love talking about this. So like most people in our space that have had to overcome a lot of stuff, like I didn't come from a bad childhood. My parents were awesome. My parents did get divorced when I was young, and I didn't know it affected me as much as it did until far later in life. Yeah. But I grew up in a town called Mount Lake Terrace. It's like 15 minutes northeast of downtown Seattle up I-5, right next to Linwood. I lived there for like the first 9 years of my life. And my parents divorced when I was about 9. And like it was a last ditch effort to try and save the marriage, we moved to Idaho, where I still am today. We moved to Boise at the top of this place called Camel's Back. And we lived in these apartments, and I'll never forget this because, one, I injured myself a lot during that first year in Idaho. But it was kind of that weird pivotal moment where you don't recognize that something changes your life until years later. And that was the last year that my family was like a whole unit, right? I had my adopted sister, who's my biological cousin, that my parents adopted and moved up to the States from South America. My mother was there. My father was there. I was there. We still were like a cohesive family, right? Like the traditional American family. And then my parents split, and my father and me moved to a suburb called Caldwell, about 30 minutes outside of downtown Boise. And he still lives in that house, same house that he bought in 2000, 2001. And then my mother moved to Arizona with my sister, and her and my sister then moved to Hawaii. My sister then moved back to Seattle. My mom lived in Hawaii for about 12 years. And during all of this, like, I didn't really have a relationship with my mother or my sister at that time. It wasn't until years later that, like, I started getting my shit together. And but it was after a lot of prolific mistakes. So the reason that book's called How Prolific Mistakes Make Prolific Profits is historically I'm a prolific fuck up. Like I was for years. I've made every mistake that a high school and college kid possibly could. I've had to start from subterranean like 4 times in my life. I've had legal issues, drug issues, financial issues, family issues. I've had physical pain, mental pain, emotional pain. I've put myself like through the ringer. And it all kind of stemmed from like those things that you don't recognize as a kid, right? Like your parents divorcing. I didn't know that was a big deal. Turns out it was a big deal. And it caused a lot of things that I didn't really know. Cause like, if you look back through like family albums, like up until about I was 10, I was a very shy child, right? I wouldn't act out. I wouldn't speak up. I was pretty shy. And then like a light switch just went off, and that was no longer the case. I was no longer shy. I was outspoken. I had an attitude. I started rebelling in school. I mean, I got expelled from high school as a sophomore. I was only accounted for on campus like 20 days out of the whole fucking year. Wow. But I was still acing all of my classes because I'd come in, knock out a test, leave. And I had gone through legal issues, drug issues. I had an opiates and narcotics issue in high school. I had a drinking issue in college. And thankfully, I was able to overcome all of that. But it wasn't without lessons. Like I made a lot of prolific mistakes. I got in a lot of fights when I was young. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know why I was here. I was kind of just running through the rat race, right? And it wasn't until about the 3rd or 4th time that I had to start my life over. It was in 2017. There's a whole chapter about this in the book, but I lost everything once again. I call it my darkest day because at 3 a.m., July 10th of 2017, I put a gun in my mouth and was fully ready to pull that trigger. But earlier that day, I had met a woman named Stella from a recommendation from a friend who happened to be a counselor. I didn't believe in counseling. I didn't believe in psychiatry. I was the traditional bravado. Men hold things in. Men don't cry. Men get shit done. Your pain doesn't matter. Society has this, right? That was my thought process. And it took a lot of humbling lessons for me to kind of get over that. But I called her because I had met her earlier that day, and she said, if you ever need anything or if you want to give counseling a try, give me a call. I called her at 3 a.m. and she answered the phone. We had like a 2 to 3 hour conversation, and she's pretty much the reason I'm still here. But 2 interesting things happened after that. After I was at the darkest point in my life, not only did I start seeing counseling and actually investing in my mental health, I started investing heavily in everything about me. My psychology, my mental health, my physical health, my expertise. I started coaching programs. I joined masterminds. I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to know who I am. I need to know why I'm here, and I'll go through it because I was tired of juggling through jobs, just working to work. I was never really fulfilled, and I knew I was here for something. I just didn't know what it was. So I spent a lot of time, and I still do. I still invest in coaches, mentors, masterminds, mindset. I still do all of that. It's something I'll probably do until the day I die. But through all of that, I found out who I was, and I found out why I'm here. And that's really been kind of the biggest thing for me now is if I can do it, you can do it. And there's nothing stopping you other than what you've got stuck in your mind that's preventing you from pulling that trigger. And I mean that in a good way. I don't mean what I was doing at 3 a.m. I mean like just executing on who you are and why you're here. You can do it. I put myself through hell for years
right.
for no other reason than I didn't know who I was or why I was here. And if I can get out of that, you 100% can. So it's kind of this weird evolution of, I went through a bunch of stuff that you would think somebody who came from a bad childhood or had abuse or any of that. I didn't have any of that. I just decided I wanted to learn lessons the hard way.
Yeah, and definitely you did, right? I mean, that was definitely a heck of a ride for you. And when you look at it from that perspective, I mean, there's so many things that come to mind. It's like, I guess one of the big ones is like, you didn't have really a bad childhood other than, as you mentioned, your parents separated, and that could essentially create something in people's lives or as a kid. And you don't realize that, right? Until after the fact. And then you got to deal with that as that comes. Nevertheless, though, as you're going through that journey, I guess the biggest thing is how those people, in your case, how did you end up falling into maybe those bad habits or deciding on whether or not you go right or left, right? I mean, because that was what you were dealing with. You were deciding whether or not, did I do drugs or did I not do drugs? Did I do this or did I not do that, right? How does that compute in your mind to decide what it is that you got to do? Because I always tell people that you're just one decision away from becoming the best version of yourself or not. The decisions that we make today is going to be the quality of life we're going to have tomorrow, right? And so how do you ended up in that place to the point where you were ready to pull the trigger? Because to get to that point is definitely a freaking journey, right? And it's not a good journey. So how do you got into that mentally?
Well, I think it's important to note that it wasn't just one decision. Right. We're always one decision away from, I agree with you, from being the best version of yourself, but it's an ongoing decision. It is cognitive choice.
Right.
And when you start going down that path of instant gratification, instant feel good, numb whatever pain you have, ignoring whatever emotions you have, you don't even recognize it, but every choice you're making is influenced by that. So you make the decision to go get fucked up on a Tuesday. Well, you're probably going to fuck off on Wednesday. Wednesday's not going to be a good day, so you're probably going to justify that on Thursday. Friday's going to come around, and then all of a sudden you're living for the weekend, so you're going to get fucked up on the weekend. And it's just a cyclical cycle of making the same poor micro choices that ultimately lead to that progression. It wasn't like when I turned 10, I was like, I'm just going to fuck up my life.
Right.
That's not what I thought was going on. But I got myself into this habit where I wanted things now. I wanted things fast. I wanted to feel happy. And since I didn't know who I was, why I was here, I didn't have purpose other than myself. I wasn't living for anybody else. I was barely living for me, to be honest. But things that I could do that made me feel some kind of satisfaction, whether it was artificial or not, gave me a moment of peace. And that moment of peace is basically all I was chasing. It's similar to how when you hear somebody who's an active drug addict talk, they're talking about chasing that happiness, chasing that next high, chasing that feeling. It's the same kind of thing when you're going through issues, and maybe you don't even realize you're going through issues. But the difference between deciding to work through the night because you've got a deadline in the morning or the decision not to and just scramble in the morning is that one choice that will either make you the best version of yourself that next day or not. And those decisions, while they don't sound like a big deal in the moment, stack up. Yeah. Eventually that tower is going to fall like an unbalanced game of Jenga if you don't treat the foundation right.
Yeah, you know what? And you actually have a good point, and I love the way you put it. And similarly to where there's really no effort, or you're not realizing the small things you're doing, those micro changes you're doing that can put you in a really negative state of mind or in the negative path. It's the same effort, perhaps a little bit more though, to turn around and start doing little things that are going to impact you positively. Although you don't see it at that moment, or you don't see it when you're working on it. It is a progress, right? I think everything we go through in life is a progress, right? Unless you're really fucked up where you're really going to just do something stupid consciously, it is a progress, right? And I can relate to that. There's times that are back in the day where I will go out on a party and I'll drink my life away. And I'm like, I'll be okay next morning. Before I know it, it's like 12 or 1 or 2. And I'm like, shit, my whole day is gone. Now I don't feel like getting up. I might as well just stay in bed. And now I just lost one full day of productivity because I was taking this decision that looked to be good, yet it was not good at that moment, right? And it's the same thing when you're working on yourself. So taking that concept is, at which point did you say enough is enough? I had enough. I'm not going to continue to do this. I need to turn my life around and start doing the different little things to get me into the right path.
Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different result, right? And I had started over 3 times in my life up until the point of July 10th, 2017. I had lost a business. I had lost friends. I had lost family. I had lost myself. And like, I learned lessons hard, right? That's, for some reason, that's just how I chose to grow up. But 3 strikes, you're out. And I hit that 3rd time, and it was the worst one I've ever done. And when I say subterranean, I mean, I was $57,000 in debt, $13 to $15 in my pocket. I had just lost a business. I had just lost my house, 3 cars, the woman I thought I was going to spend my life with, the kid that I adopted. I'd lost everything in a matter of a second. And that, like, having to go through that a few times, you start to recognize, like, maybe I'm the one that's fucked up. Like 1 time mistake, 2 times coincidence, 3 times that's a pattern. Something's going on. And I had lost sight of who I was. I didn't know. I'd lost sight of who I thought I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know why I was here. I was kind of just running through this rat race. And ultimately, the only thing I hadn't tried was changing. That was ultimately the only thing that I had not tried to do. And so I was like, you know what? Well, I'm going to give it the old college try. Like, clearly what I'm doing is not working. There's got to be a better way to this. And clearly I don't know how to do that. So it was really just letting go of ego, letting go of, like, my own pride. And for the lack of a better word, the hardest thing I've ever had to do was look at myself for weeks in counseling sessions and tear myself apart to find out what traits that I had that were toxic, that were holding me back, that weren't benefiting me, that weren't progressive, that weren't building that foundation that you really need to find out who you are, why you're here, what your purpose is. And yeah, it fucking sucked. It was painful. It was not a pleasant experience. But after realizing that pattern, it was just, it can't get worse. So it's got to get better.
Yeah.
And
I have a question for you, because right now, even with what we're going through as the recorder of this, we're kind of, actually, I don't know where the fuck we're at. We're in the middle of the end. I don't know, of COVID-19. We're somewhere, right? I think we're towards the end of COVID-19. Nevertheless, I think the stats back in 2018, right? Suicide is the 10th leading cost of death in the U.S. It's about 48,000 Americans are committing suicide as of 2018. That's a big number. And the one thing that comes to mind is that, you know, if there's anyone listening that might be contemplating or are going through a difficult time of just saying, you know what, there's no point of me being here. Let me take my life away, which, by the way, don't do that. First of all, I want to understand, though, from your perspective, though, you were ready to pull the trigger. You were going through all this shit. What was that thing that said, you know what, no, like, this is not the way this has to end? Because I'm sure your message is going to empower somebody to not do the same thing.
It's the same thing that I think everybody feels. Deep down inside, our bodies molecularly are programmed for truth, integrity, honesty, and a purpose. And you feel it. Like, when you wake up and you do something you love, regardless what it is, you feel it. You've got that fire inside, right? You've got that passion. You've got that drive. Even if it's something that you're not getting paid for, maybe it's donations, maybe it is your work, maybe it's just spending time with somebody. You feel that vigor. All of us do. There was a study that was done where a university found that molecularly we have a metaphysical change to dishonesty, including dishonesty to ourselves. If you hold your arm out at 90 degrees for as long as you can holding a weight, and then do the exact same thing and tell yourself a lie, you lose 40 to 50% of your strength instantly. Our bodies know what path we're supposed to be on. And the simple fact of the matter is it's like 1,000,000,000,000 that we're even born. You cannot tell me with any certainty that we beat those odds to survive and we're not here for a goddamn purpose. All of us have that thought process. And I'm sure everybody who fell victim to suicide, I was almost one of them. You have that thought in the back of your mind, somewhere in your mind, something is telling you that you're here for a reason. If you spend any amount of time trying to figure out what that reason is, you'll find more than enough reason to live. Ending it all is not the answer to it. If anything, in my belief, and I was one of the people that was ready to do it, it's a coward's way out because I didn't want to recognize that I was here for something greater than myself. I didn't want to put time and effort into that until I met it face to face.
Yeah. And then that's definitely one way to face the fear, right? And sometimes we tend that's the easy way out. Then not only are you doing something that is not honest to you, you're also leaving a pain behind for other people that do love you, right? And so sometimes we tend to forget about that too, from that perspective. So let's talk about your comeback, right? After going through that, you obviously had to adjust and you had to make invest your mental health, physical, like all those things, right? Tell me, how was that? What was that like? Like, what were some of the things that you had to do to start overcoming that challenge that you had gone through, and how you went about it?
So for everybody listening, it's not an easy or fast process. I want you guys to know that. It's something that I'm still doing every day. Like, your only goal should be, and it's my only goal, is that I'm a better person today than I was yesterday. Even if it's a microscopic amount, it's progress. Now, I went through by immediately going to counseling and putting myself in situations that historically made me uncomfortable. I knew that the only place to grow was if I'm uncomfortable, whether that be in the gym, whether that be eating, whether that be mentally, whether that be emotionally. Uncomfort means growth. It just does. Naturally speaking, that's what it means. So I did everything that I possibly could with the help of friends, family, psychologists, counselors. I urge you, if anybody listening or watching is having thoughts of doing that, reach out to anybody. Reach out to me if you don't have anybody else. Contact me. You can find me at Linktree, bryce.phonesites.com. Reach out. We're here for you. But it's important to think about it not as, you're not trying to move the desert. You're trying to move one bucket of sand at a time, right? Small goals over time equal mountains. So my goal wasn't to fix myself. My goal was to just be better than I was the day before, every day. And the way that I did that was I surrounded myself with people that have accomplished things that I've always wanted to accomplish. I started reading more than anything else. I started engaging in podcasts rather than the radio. I started, rather than investing my money on stupid shit like a game that I'm going to go watch that I don't really give a fuck about, I started flying out to masterminds to go spend time with people who are doing what I've always wanted to do and making impact in other people's lives. I joined coaching programs. I got a mentor. I got a personal coach. I got a mindset coach. This all didn't happen right away. It was an evolution, but every single step got me 1% better than I was the day before. And I want everybody to listen to this. You do not have to have wealth to find out who you are or why you're here. Spend time thinking about what makes you happy. Pursue your passion. If you hate your job and you come back at 5 p.m. rather than sitting and vegging out and watching TV, write, read, go hang out with somebody, go donate your time, do a charity, do something that you're passionate about, and it will make you a better person. And just doing that consistently. That's why one of my mantras, consistency conquers complacency, because historically I was complacent. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my purpose. I didn't live for anything other than myself. And consistency got me out of that. It helped me conquer my own complacency and put me in a situation where in 3 years, I've been able to employ on contractor basis over 100 people. I've been able to impact hundreds of clients' lives. I've been able to impact thousands of people online. I've gotten to write my first 2 books. I've launched my first few dozen courses. We're starting another coaching program here that we launched a month ago. I've got 5 businesses now, and we've got several apps under development. I couldn't have done any of that without getting my mind right first.
Yeah. And with that too, like I know people might be thinking, well, man, going into seminars, going into getting a mentor, doing all these things, I can already see people putting up this wall and say, well, that seems to be very expensive. It seems like it's going to cost me a lot of money. And I want to get your input on that because all I got to say to that is that on the contrary, you can still get a mentor, you can still learn, you can still start making those changes with really no investment, monetary investment to begin with. But how do you see that?
Look, my first mentor who became my first coach, I didn't pay a dime to. I just worked for him. I offered to do whatever he wanted me to do to trade for his time. It didn't cost me anything. All it did was help me level up, teach me something, and put me in connection with somebody who ultimately helped change my life. Yes, there are paid coaches, there are paid mentorships. You can and probably will get to that stage if you dedicate your life to that path. You don't need money to change your life. Your first mentor can be your friend, it can be your business partner, it can be your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your neighbor. Your first mentor could be a book. It just needs to be something that helps you level up and elevate even 1/1000th of a percent anytime you pick it up.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. And I love that. I definitely love that. And again, even picking up a book, you can borrow a book from somebody that can be very impactful. And again, that is your mentor. Or right now with social media and technology, you can jump on YouTube and find so many different things, or come to this podcast and you can find a lot of people like Bryce that have so much wealth of information. And just by that, you can start learning from people that have gone through what you've gone through from that perspective. Right.
Yeah.
So now, one thing that you mentioned, which was, I think, very critical, is that you're still kind of going through it, right? It wasn't, I did it and that's it, I'm done, right? This type of lifestyle is really a process, right? And it's a never-ending process. So having that said, what are some of the things that you still do on a day-to-day basis to keep you motivated, to keep you uplifted and in a positive mindset?
I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. I mean, I still follow a lot of the stuff that my mentors taught to me. One of my favorite quotes ever is, if you can't live in a glass house, do you even know who you are? So my biggest goal every day to be better than I was the day before is everything that I do, whether I like it, hate it, love it, I'm indifferent about it, is it needs to be ethical, it needs to be moral, it needs to have integrity, and I need to be able to live in a glass house. If I cannot live in a transparent life, then I can't do it or be associated with it. And that's a big one for me. But I spend time on, this is going to sound weird, I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. But for me, it's about my why. And my why is I want to make the largest impact in the most people's lives to help them conquer complacency. But I want to be able to do that in a way that I love my personal life. So I spend as much time as I can with my family, with my friends, with my significant other, with my cat, just enjoying life, right? I may not go to the gym as much as I need to, and I'll self-admit that, but working towards doing that is a goal. I may not eat the best, I'll admit that, but working towards that is a goal. I may not have all the time in the world because I work a lot because I love what I do, but as long as I'm there for those that I care about and I'm always working towards my why, then I'm being who I am. Yeah. And so it's not about just tasks. It's about what you do. Take care of your group, take care of your grind, your work, take care of your genetics, take care of your mind. As long as you put effort into taking care of you, you can take care of other people. Yeah. It's the reason why on an airplane, when the oxygen mask comes down, they tell you to put yours on before your child's. You're no good to anybody if you don't take care of yourself first.
Yeah, I definitely love that. Let me ask you something. How do you find your why? I think that's something that it gets tossed around so many times, and people are especially when they're going through a challenge, is like, well, I don't know what's my why. I don't know how to start seeking or searching or try to even find the beginning of that. How do you go about it?
I love that question, but I want to point something. This is going to sound rude. It's not meant to be for anybody listening. You know your why. You just don't want to accept it. There has always been something in your life at some point that you are naturally drawn to that gives you energy, that you feel that you enjoy. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be pottery. It could be yarn. It could be philanthropy. It could be just hanging out at your house with somebody. It could be running a business. It could be customer service. It could be sales. But there is something in everybody's life that they just naturally love. Whatever that is, what's the effect of that? Let's say that you love pottery, right? Well, pottery is your vehicle for your why. Most artists, their why is impacting emotional change in people's lives. They don't make that connection right away, but that's what art is. It's expression of emotion. My why is helping people overcome what almost destroyed me. And I found that because I looked back through all my prolific mistakes, and the one consistency that I always loved was helping people overcome some kind of pain. Regardless of what job I was in, that was always the consistent.
Yeah, no, I love that. Definitely, I love that. And you know, it's actually one thing that I've never seen is like, you got to really just look deep down. And you're right. I think we're all born with a purpose, and we already have an idea of what we want to be able to do and how we want to live this world and what kind of impact. It's just a matter of really, I guess, sitting back and really taking that personal time to really invest and look deep down in your soul, in your heart, and determine what is it that I can do that I'm really, really good at, that I enjoy doing. And then that might be your why from that perspective, right?
Or you'll find your why through that. Maybe you don't know what the why is, but you know what task you love doing, right? Yeah. Focus on doing that task. If you love it, there's a reason you love it.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll find out what it is through doing that task.
Yeah.
And I think this is important for a lot of people. A lot of people that are listening to this may still be doing the 9-to-5, or they may just be starting their business. Finances are a worry. Don't get me wrong. But just because you're doing a 9-to-5 does not mean you can't dedicate an hour or two to your passion or what you love doing, even if you don't make money from it, because eventually you can monetize that. It may not be today. It may be 10 years from now. But Elon Musk has one of my favorite quotes. He says, look, take your 10-year plan and do it in 3 months. You're going to fail, but you're going to be a hell of a lot further down that road than if you thought you had 10 years.
I love that. I definitely love that. And the other thing too is I always tell people, if you're working for your profits, I think you're doing it wrong. You got to be working for your purpose, right? So once you
100%.
start working on your purpose, your profits will come back into play.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I've talked about a few times on a few podcasts, and a lot of people don't understand it. If you ask me what my overhead is right now, I've got no fucking idea. I've got to pull it up on a spreadsheet that tells me, that tracks my numbers from my accountant, right? And the reason I don't know is because for me, if I make more impact, I change more lives, I'll make more income. And it's better for me to focus on making more income because that means I've changed more lives than it is for me to nickel and dime what my accountant is doing to figure out if we've got a basis. It's a weird psychological shift when you go from, I have to worry about money, I have to worry about money, I have to worry about money, to the money will come. I just have to worry about the impact I'm making.
Yeah, definitely. No, you have 100%. So, Bryce, if people wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
linktreebryce.phonesites.com.
Okay, awesome. And then besides the book, what else is coming out for you in the near future?
So we've got a bunch of stuff going. Funnel driven specifically, we've got a few promo offers going on right now to help people through the end of Q4. So our basic funnel, which retails for $14.97, is only $500. Our plus funnel, which retails for $24.97, is only $850. And then we've got COVID relief going through the end of the year. So anybody who signs up for any marketing, advertising, or web development service through the end of the year gets a complimentary chatbot, inception fees waived, and 1 full month of what's called gold management, which is full omnipresence, content creation, video sequences, whole 9 yards. The Inbound Secret, which is actually also the name of my podcast and our coaching group. We've got 6 new courses coming in December, and my coaching program just opened a month ago. So if anybody wants to talk, get to know me, feel free to reach out. I'll hook you up. Just let me know that you saw us here on Caesar's podcast, and we'll chat. And I'm always available to you guys. Like I said, it's about impact. It's not about money. So
yeah, no, definitely. And do you work primarily with like entrepreneurs, business owners, people that want to get into that field? What is your
So in the digital marketing space for funnel driven, we primarily work with existing clientele. Typically, they have to be doing 500,000 or more a year is where we like to see them. We won't go below 100,000 for total annual gross because then they can't afford marketing services at a good level. The rule of thumb for us for marketing is if you're paying us 1,500 a month, you better pay yourself 1,500 a month or more. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yep.
Invest in yourself as much as you're investing in others. It's at bare minimum.
Yep.
Now, as far as the inbound secret goes, we've got programs coming out. We just launched one earlier this year that we're relaunching that's called the Innovative Agent. It's specifically for real estate agents who want to start their career. And it runs through how to build an entire lead generation and client acquisition system for real estate agents. It's only $147. We've got 6 more coming out, like I said, by the end of the year. So we work with anybody that's wanting to leave their 9-to-5 or somebody who's been in business for 10 years and is looking to level up. We've got something for you. We typically try to stay into our expertise. Like, we're not your financial gurus. We'll refer you to an accountant. We're not your legal gurus. We'll refer you to an attorney. There's a few pieces that we do have expertise in. That's behavioral data, intent and affinity data, digital marketing, web development, app development, and courses. If it's outside of that, we're not your expert there. We'll just refer you to somebody who is. Like, for instance, I've got now 2 published books, but I'm not a publisher. I'll refer you to a partner who's a publisher, right? So it's one of those things. You've got to operate with integrity, morals, and ethics. My biggest rule is I don't care where you're at in life. I don't care if you make $1 or $1 million. If you're ethical, you're moral, and you have integrity, I'm happy to work with you and help you. If you could be a billionaire trying to hire me, if you don't match those 3 things, I'm not the right fit for you. I just won't work with you. So just keep that in mind if you want to reach out.
Awesome. No, man, I love it. I love it. Bryce, let me see if I can get one more tip from you. The people that are watching us and are checking us out, if they're going through any kind of challenge right now, whatever that might be, what is one advice that you can give them that they can overcome that challenge?
Keep doing it. Keep going through it. There's an old country song that came out like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I forget the song. If I see this online, I'll post it up. No, I forget the song, but part of the song says, if you're going through hell, keep on going. Try and get out before the devil even knows your name. And I think that's important because all of us do. Like, Wayne S. said one of my favorite things on one of his lives recently. Being poor is hard. Being rich is hard. Pick your hard. Being fat's hard. Being healthy's hard. Pick your hard. Being married's hard. Being divorced is hard. Pick your hard. Living for yourself or living for others, they're both hard. Pick your hard. Life's not easy, but if you focus on the things that make you happy, make you feel good, make an impact, and let you live for something other than yourself, it makes it a hell of a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Bryce, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate having you on the show. And man, thank you. You gave us a lot of good insight, man.
Absolutely. One thing for everybody watching, if you guys are looking to start marketing, whether you're starting a business or have one, if you go to www.drivenroi.com, fill out the quick form. It is a funnel, so we will send you stuff. But the first thing that you'll get from us is a PDF called The One Funnel to Rule Them All and the 3 core funnels that any business needs to succeed. And it's a walkthrough from step 1 to step 100 on how you can build your own client acquisition and lead generation system yourself.
Awesome. I love it, man. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. And for the rest of you guys, please do me a favor. Make sure you come here, comment, like, and share. Make sure you share this with your network. People need to hear this message. And I'll see you at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.